So you really feel in the book that Meghan is struggling for relevance. And you also feel that both of them were fantastically suspicious of the advisors in the palace. How treacherous was that palace hierarchy to negotiate for both Harry and Meghan? And I mean, at one point you talk about the Queen giving Meghan her most trusted advisor, Susan Hussey, but Susan Hussey was 80. So the idea that somehow there would be a real sort of relationship that felt modern is hard to imagine. So I guess what I'm asking is, was Meghan set up for success? Did she become too paranoid? Were the staff treacherous, or did they just choose to ignore actually pretty good advisors?
All at once, really. I mean, actually, I think that the Queen and the palace set the Sussex up for a lot of success. I mean, the Queen gave her one of her most treasured patronages, which was patron of the National Theatre. What a fabulous thing for a former actress. I mean, a marvelous, prestigious patronage. She also made her vice chairman of the Commonwealth Foundation, which, given that Meghan had said that she had a huge desire to do sort of global humanitarian work, there's no better platform, essentially, to be able to talk about women's education, to talk about, the question of minorities. This was a fantastic platform, really, that needed modernizing and dusting off and repositioning, particularly in the kind of atmosphere right now, the social atmosphere of the moment with Black Lives Matters and all of these things that we've seen impacting on the Cambridge tour. But there was nonetheless a big role there, a long-standing role with a lot of longevity for the Sussexes. And the Queen's view, I'm told, is like, Prince Philip came into the royal family and he also actually scrambled. I mean, he felt completely that he had no role, no platform of his own. And over years, he carved one out for himself and made himself extraordinarily important, as an influencer, as a fundraiser, as a sort of icon of national virtue, in a sense. I mean, in terms of his causes. May not personally mean, but certainly his causes. So there was bafflement actually in the palace that that they seemed not to appreciate what these things could become. Were the palace advisors treacherous? I think that the palace is a snake pit. I think it always has been. I mean, I think it's like any crusty institution, whether it's the BBC or the New York Times or Buckingham Palace. It's a crusty, dusty place which has got quite a lot of viperish people in it. But, frankly, the communications team at Buckingham Palace, Kensington Palace, and indeed for the Sussex's own team, who they hired, after all, were pretty impressive communications people and very smart. And actually, I think that they were able to hire anybody they wanted, essentially, to be their advisors. But they also had to listen to them. And I think that one of the problems was that they didn't really want to hear, they'd hear the advice and they didn't want the advice. I mean, they wanted to be able to have a commercial arm to their activities. That was the issue. That was the stumbling block. They saw, Meghan certainly saw the deals that were there to be made that they had to leave on the table because they were royals. They wanted to have the Commonwealth patronage, Harry's military patronages, HRH, all of the things that made them royal, but they also wanted to go off and make commercial deals to get the kind of financial, lucrative deals that they wanted, it seems, at this point, because they wanted to be able to use that leverage to have that. And, it was as if Meghan just could not sort of resist everything that was offered on the celebrity buffet.
Welcome back to Royal Sussex Squad, where truth has a voice and our support for Harry and Meghan never wavers. Today, we're diving into yet another round of nonsense from none other than Tina Brown. Yes, she's back at it again. She's promoting something called the Truth Tellers Summit, and somehow she's using that platform as an excuse to take more aim at the Sussexes. Because, of course, what better way to get attention than to invoke the names of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle? She claims there's a Harry-shaped hole in the royal family. Funny, because that's the same Harry she and her fellow commentators endlessly criticised when he dared to marry a woman of colour and step away from the toxicity of royal life. Now suddenly, he's irreplaceable. That's not analysis. That's regret disguised as nostalgia. And it's not a compliment. It's an admission that the firm let go of the very soul and spark they needed most. Then Tina says Harry misses being a prince. According to her, he was good at the role and liked it more than he realized. But wait, wasn't this the same media machine that spent years telling us Harry was lazy, a party boy, a disappointment? Now he's the most talented royal at connecting with people. Seems like someone's realizing that you don't know what you've got until it's gone. But the hypocrisy doesn't stop there. Tina tries to attack Harry and Meghan's impact by saying they talk about doing good, but questions what good they're actually doing. That's rich coming from someone who sits on panels talking about journalism, while Harry and Meghan are out in the world doing real work, from Archewell's initiatives, mental health advocacy, digital safety work, to food relief and disaster aid. That's not just talk. That's real, measurable action. She even had the audacity to mock their work during the California wildfires, calling it disaster tourism. Excuse me? Harry and Meghan weren't there for photo ops. They were there to help. They showed up when people were in need. That's what service looks like. Not posing for ceremonial photo shoots in the palace. The Oprah interview was a bold, historic moment. It allowed Harry and Meghan to speak for themselves, unfiltered by the palace, unfiltered by the British media. For once, their voices weren't twisted or silenced. And that, right there, is what people like Tina Brown can't stand. That Harry and Meghan took control of their narrative, that they found power in telling their truth. And the memoir, Spare, wasn't a disaster. It was a masterstroke, a raw, emotional and honest account of a life behind palace walls, a bestseller, a global conversation starter, and a record-breaking success. That's why it bothers the establishment. Not because it failed, but because it worked, because Harry told the truth, and the world listened. Tina's comments about Meghan are just as spiteful. She reduces Meghan to someone clinging to her past with the TIG, mocking her as if she hasn't evolved. But here's the truth. Meghan is rebuilding on her own terms. She's a woman who was silenced, smeared, and dehumanized. And now she's reclaiming her voice. That's called resilience. That's called power. So let's call this what it is. Not expert commentary, but a bitter lament from someone watching a new era unfold without her. Tina Brown can spin her narrative all she wants, but the truth is clear. Harry and Meghan are thriving, they are loved, and they are no longer under the thumb of the British press or royal protocol. And right here at Royal Sussex Squad, we will always stand by them. We see through the noise, we hear their truth, and we celebrate their courage. If you believe in love over hate, in freedom over control, in truth over tabloid lies, then you are in the right place. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, and if you'd like to support this channel, drop a super thanks to help us keep the truth loud and proud. Until next time, stay strong, stay supportive, and stay Sussex proud.